Sorry. As I was saying, this is the last workshop organized by the project HYPOP, which Ilaria, which is project coordinator, will introduce later. As you saw now, this workshop will be recorded and will be also uploaded on our project's YouTube and website. So if you miss something, it will be available with open access. My name is Valeria Mingardi. I'm communication manager at APRE, the Agency for the Promotion of European Research. We are a research organization based in Rome, and as I said, in the HYPOP project, we manage all communication, dissemination, and the exploitation activities of HYPOP. First of all, thank you for joining and welcome. Now I would like to introduce the first speakers, which are Ilaria Schiavi, which is HYPOP's project coordinator, and Mirela Atanasiou, which is the head of units operations and communications at the Clean Hydrogen Partnership. Yes, I leave you the word to tell us more about the project and the Clean Hydrogen Partnership.
Okay, thank you very much, Valeria, and welcome everyone. Let me just share my screen. So I'll take you through an introduction of project HYPOP. As Valeria was saying, I'm the coordinator of the project. Of course, I'm supported by a team, and I take the opportunity actually to thank both Mattia, who you will see later, and Marianna, who's been working with us on this project and is now on maternity leave. So let's see what HYPOP project was all about. Of course, you will have most of the details from our colleagues later on. So the project was funded under the 2022 call on public understanding of hydrogen and fuel cell technologies, which gave us the brief to understand public perception and reaction to hydrogen and fuel cell technologies, identify the main individual level determinants of public understanding and acceptance of such technologies, try to enhance the involvement of the citizens and understanding how we can actually open a dialogue with the public, also busting some of the myths, and you will see later on the work that we have done. And then also other briefs, including assessing the environmental and socioeconomic impacts of the fuel cell and hydrogen technology. So we are coming to the end of this project. This project could not happen without the help of the consortium that you see represented here. So you've heard from Valeria from APRE. You will hear later on from IMI, who was in charge of the public perception and the public stakeholders. We had also some clusters, some hydrogen clusters covering Spain, Italy, Belgium, but also pushing us towards the east of Europe, so covering some of those EU 13 countries, which were a special focus during the project. And then we had also IMDEA Energy, which supported us with the definition of the social life cycle assessment indication. So what were the objectives of our project? Let's see if my computer decides to work. So overall objective, raise public awareness and trust towards hydrogen technologies. What we have been developing, and they will be illustrated later on by Valeria, are guidelines and good practices to support the awareness raising and involvement of citizens, consumers and users, and also the institutional stakeholders. And I'll get back to this in a minute. We also built a social platform, so collecting a lot of communication materials for both the communication officers, but also the adopters of the technologies to help them to dialogue, to open a dialogue with the citizens which are interested by these installations, and also, as I mentioned, the indicators for hydrogen social life cycle assessment, which are a potential tool and also a very useful tool for public acceptance and informed decision making. So you saw from my slide before that we kind of decided, excuse me, to focus on two distinct categories of stakeholders forming our public opinion. So on one side, we thought about the citizen, so the consumers, the end users, those who are talking with the citizen, and we worked on social analysis and communication guidance. But also we chose to involve institutional stakeholders. So those stakeholders who are actually in charge of either dealing with safety, fire safety, or fire safety authorization, all the permitting entities, the certification bodies, in general, the decision maker. And we worked on technical analysis and guide us on that. And we chose those two. Actually, there were some, we discovered actually that there is also a need for a little work also to raise the awareness and the knowledge of the institutional stakeholders, not just for enabling them to provide us with the necessary permit and authorization, but also to make them a bit more aware of hydrogen and what exactly it is, because perhaps there is a little, still a little knowledge about the subject amongst them. So our approach in the project, we concentrated on in the first year to understand what the status quo was. So we had some work done in understanding what is the current perception of the hydrogen by the public, and also how local regulations are actually dealing with hydrogen in general. Then we talked to these people through some co-creation workshops, both working on citizen engagement workshops and stakeholders engagement workshop. And then we collected all this information and of course all the desktop research that we did to produce these guidelines, which again address these two main target groups, the communication toolkit and web platform, and the social life cycle assessment indicators. So my colleagues from IMI will speak about the work which led us to produce these guidelines. Our colleague from the CNH from Spain will illustrate how we develop the guidance for the public stakeholders in terms of public institutions stakeholders. The communication toolkit will be launched at the end of this talk, but I would like just to focus very shortly on the social life cycle assessment indicators, which were developed by IMDEA. So as you know, social life cycle assessment is a powerful tool which has already some history, also some history in terms of the assessment of hydrogen. Within this project, we took a step forward to try and produce a framework which could be used by the decision makers also for reporting to citizens. So to try and communicate which are the socioeconomic advantages of adopting hydrogen technologies and also the potential impact that are associated with this. So our colleagues from IMDEA developed a case studies thinking about a hydrogen bus operating in Spain and then going through operating. So refueling at a hydrogen refueling station with production of green hydrogen. And they demonstrated how to build a materiality assessment, a social hotspot analysis, and also how to support multi-criteria decision making. This is because we saw that through especially the social hotspot analysis, it's possible to understand what are the supply chain risks, to better take integrated business decision, to see where the critical hotspots are and therefore to manage them, and also to address in general social concerns. So information on this and on the other outcomes of the projects is already on our website or will be updated very shortly. So of course, I invite you to follow us and to go and check out what we have produced on our website. And I thank you for the attention, and I leave the word to Mirela. Thank you.
Good morning. I hope everybody can hear me. I was waiting for my camera to activate. Really, thank you very much, both Valeria, Ilaria, and the whole consortium for having me and for the work you've done in this project. I'm sure what we will hear today will be extremely valuable about when trying to learn about public acceptance, public awareness, and anything related to informed, like you said, decision making. I have to say for the attendance in this webinar that for the sector in general, but for us, for the partnership, public awareness, public acceptance, public opinion analysis, it's extremely important. For the joint undertaking, the partnership between the Commission, industry and research, the public matters were addressed all the time, especially when demonstrating projects and demonstrating technologies. These aspects of public opinion were also there, for example, and I saw it later in your case studies and in the discussion in the webinar. For example, when demonstrating the buses or when putting in place the different valleys, we always ask the different consortia to talk to the public, to talk to the locals, and to see how they react, what do they understand from our projects. So we always pay attention to these activities. In addition, with our existing framework during this period of implementation, the budget from Horizon Europe, the partnership got a new objective, in fact, and this is for us what drove attention. And if you want maybe some funding in the project like HYPOP, we got an objective as a partnership, as a joint undertaking, to really increase, and that's extremely difficult. I'll come to that in a moment. Increase the public awareness and acceptance of hydrogen technologies. An objective which for me is difficult to grasp, not to say to report on. And this is why back in 2022, we already did a Eurobarometer. We did a study with Gallup to see a bit the level of the awareness across the member states, across EU, which turned out to be interesting, at least, with an average of awareness, I always mention this number, of 8% across EU. So that's 8% of the people, of the public across EU is aware of hydrogen technologies. It's high, it's low, I don't know. We can comment on that. But definitely, needs to be increased, like we were asked to do. Following on that, we decided to indeed in 2022 to put some funding into it, and we have your project HYPOP, and we'll see what, like I said today, what comes out of that. And I think everything that comes from this project, I will kindly encourage together that we share it with everybody, because I also saw just now from you this social life cycle analysis assessment that I think it's extremely important also for our sustainability panel. We have a sustainability panel of experts who are also looking at social indicators, and I think we need to all to be aware of what you've done in this project. But we will also like to repeat next year the Eurobarometer and to see what happened from 2022 to 2026 with the efforts of your project, with the efforts that we've done through our projects, again, through the valleys, through the demonstration projects. But on top of, and coming from the bus projects, we've done several roadshows in the Central Eastern Europe, which I think they also kind of touched into the public dissemination or awareness. And I would like to see, again, if there is an increase indeed, like we were requested to do. Finally, what I would like to say is that we cannot take it only on us. It's nice. It's good that we have been given this objective to increase public awareness and acceptance. But I think it will be difficult, extremely difficult. It's only if only the GU, the partnership is doing that. I think this is a task for everybody. This is a task for our industry association, industries, not only Hydrogen Europe, but all the industries. It's a task for Hydrogen Europe research, all the academia, or all the sector, everybody that works in this sector and develops technologies, develops projects, has the duty whenever it's possible to inform the public, to disseminate, to communicate about what we do, about the results. And lastly, for the policymakers, even for the policymakers, it's important that they communicate to the public why hydrogen is considered one of the solutions to decarbonize, one of the solutions in our policies, and for the public, therefore, to understand the advantages of the technologies and the impact that maybe having these technologies may have on their lives. So this is a bit the context I try to put in my very short introduction. Without taking too much time with slides or anything else, I think you for those listening to us today should know about the GU. But just to say again, it's extremely important, your work. I would like to thank you again for that. And let's work together to further disseminate it, further use it, work together with our panel on sustainability and circularity, but also together with our projects, demonstration projects, in particular the valleys, which are increasing in number and spread across Europe. And I see them as the instrument indeed to get to the people and work with them to really increase public awareness and acceptance of the technologies. Thank you very much. Looking forward to hear from you. And I'm here in case you need me later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mirela, and thank you to the Clean Hydrogen Partnership who have supported us along this journey with not only dissemination, but also guidance. So it was a really great experience to work together. And once again, thank you for all your support. Now, before the first session, we would like to briefly share a question for you, a couple of questions to be to be precise. So we will use Slido for this. I will give you a couple of minutes to connect. You can do it through the QR code or go to slido.com and put the number that you see here. So hopefully it's working for for everyone. And so the first question is in which sector of the hydrogen value chain do you operate? So you will see here a few options, which are the target audiences that and the target groups that we looked to engage during our project and our yes, and our research activities. Mainly, I see here that we have a good representation of academia and research, and also some of private companies working in the hydrogen sector. Just for your information, these results will be used for our monitoring and internal monitoring to understand as I said, the audiences that we engaged. And yeah, so thank you for taking this poll. I see that still we are missing a few answers, but the poll will be open until tonight. So if you want to just save the page and go back later. We have also another questions about your main interest. It should be active now. So in the hydrogen sector, which are the main interests or the main field you are working on? As I said before, these questions will be used for monitoring, and this topic are the topics that the HYPOP project worked mostly on. So you will see here safety, permitting, and also awareness raising and social acceptance. So I will leave you a few moments to keep connecting and to keep answering to our poll. We will have also another question that we will share later. So then we can begin with the first session. And as I said, this poll will be open tonight. So now I will stop sharing my screen, but of course it will be still active. So now we can start with the first session. So the lessons learned by HYPOP, the guidelines supporting the hydrogen uptake. And first, I want to introduce you Oliver, which is working for IMI. And will share with us the understanding and shaping public acceptance of hydrogen technologies.
Good morning, everybody. Can you see my slides now? Is that okay?
Yes.
Fantastic. So good morning, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here. I've had a great deal of pleasure working on this project with our partners and want to thank them all. I also want to thank my colleagues, Daniela and Fanny, who are not currently present, but worked hard on this project with the partners. So we're going to talk a little bit about the work that was done on understanding and shaping public acceptance of hydrogen technologies. And we started with three initial research areas. We did a state-of-the-art literature review on the public awareness and the perceptions of hydrogen and hydrogen technology in Europe. And then we went back and looked at that Gallup poll from 2022 that was published in 2023 to mine it for a little bit more data to get some more insights from there. And a third initial action we were doing is a social media analysis of public engagement with hydrogen technologies across the EU 27 countries. So this was sort of the foundation before we developed the public engagement strategies and activities. From the literature review, we found some clear main findings that there were definitely regional specifics across the EU 27 and the differing cultural predispositions made an impact on people's attitudes and understanding of hydrogen. There was broadly across the region a support for hydrogen, but there was definitely a lack of knowledge, a lack of detailed understanding of what hydrogen technology was, how it was used, how it might be implemented, and a sort of low level of public awareness. When we talk about specific projects, we found in the literature review, we saw that there was a lot of challenges with the NIMBY attitude, or we could not in my backyard. People are broadly accepting of hydrogen projects, but don't necessarily want them near where they live or in their own residences. And over the period, we do see a general increase in enthusiasm, but there's always concerns about the costs and infrastructure, and they remain. So from here, we can see there's definitely a call for a strategic educational campaign which has clear communication on the benefits of hydrogen and on the safety concerns. As we could see from the Lido poll just now, safety is clearly still a very important aspect of public awareness and engagement with hydrogen technology. When we looked at the Gallup poll from 2023, we have very similar findings. There's a broad awareness of hydrogen technology as a possibility, but very limited in-depth understanding of how it might be used and where it is. Most of the respondents in the poll saw hydrogen as a good solution for decarbonisation and reducing energy dependence, and it's seen as a sustainable energy source. But there are definitely concerns, especially around safety. And there's differences regionally. So we found that countries in Western Europe often showed higher agreement levels that hydrogen could be a safe technology, rather than on Eastern European countries where there were slightly more concerns. But overall, from the Gallup poll, there's a near consensus that hydrogen can be a cleaner option in some cases to traditional fossil fuel. So there were some determinants that affected how people viewed or accepted hydrogen. One of the main ones was education. Education significantly enhanced support for hydrogen. And that's a clear result from that Gallup poll. People concerned with the environment, generally who are supporting of sustainable technologies, also showed a limited awareness of how it can be used, how hydrogen is used in transport, how it's used in heating, and how it might be used in industry. But they generally have a sort of a vibe, a feeling that hydrogen is viewed positively for reducing energy dependence and the environmental harm caused by traditional fossil fuel technologies. And so from this, we can definitely see that an improved understanding of the environmental benefits of hydrogen can boost public acceptance. We looked also across the social media to see what the acceptance of hydrogen and hydrogen technology was looking like across social media. There was quite a lot of variation across the EU 27, and that variation is often driven, and the engagement is driven by national policies, local events, if people have been aware of local events happening near them, or government announcements. So when they get a contact with some news or information about hydrogen, that they do become more engaged. Socio-political factors definitely shape the perceptions of hydrogen technology. And across the EU, the public interest does vary depending on hydrogen hop topic. What had the most interest was the sort of technological aspects, the sort of fuel cells, vehicles, the sort of sci-fi futuristic hydrogen technology. Slightly less engagement with the policy issues and infrastructure, as you might expect, but it was definitely apparent from the social media analysis. So from these three bits of work, we developing a public engagement strategy to lead into the public engagement activities, the co-creation workshops that happen later that I will shortly talk about. So the public engagement strategy would be important to clarify what hydrogen technology is, how it's used, but by using simple language. It's very easy to put a barrier up with too much technological language or not being able to be clear and plain. So it's important in your public engagement to use simple language. And also in these public engagement strategies, we wanted to directly address public safety concerns. This is a real concern across the EU, and even we see today, again, the Lido Pole safety was as we went into this meeting, was the top area of interest from the group here. People are concerned about safety, so it has to be clearly communicated how the safety issues are and the safetiness of hydrogen technology. Engagement initiatives do need to be customized for specific regional contexts and demographic contexts, because there are differences across the EU 27 in terms of what people's levels of acceptance and levels of knowledge are. And one of the important things for a public engagement strategy would be to proactively involve women in the public engagement activities, because there are gender gaps that we see in hydrogen awareness, and so it's important to do so. Other aspects is to make sure that you use real world examples to demonstrate hydrogen's practicality and benefits, rather than speak in generalities, or you need to say, look at this example here, look at this bit of tech, look at this project. This is really important and really useful way of engaging. And through this, emphasizing the environmental advantages and the safety features of hydrogen as a sustainable solution. And as always with the public engagement strategy, it's really important to engage diverse stakeholders, to make sure that you're speaking to as broad and diverse a public as possible. So the industry experts, of course, academics, NGOs and communities, and also policymakers, to make sure to ensure transparency and credibility, so no one feels that they're not being spoken to or listened to or overlooked. So we then engaged in our public engagement activities, which was a series of workshops and webinars. There were 6 co-creation workshops held over the end of last year and the beginning of this year, and 2 international webinar events with participating countries of, as you can see, Ireland, Belgium, Spain, Italy, Poland and Bulgaria. So we have a good mix for Western Europe, Southern Europe, and a little bit of Central and Eastern Europe there. And in these co-creation workshops, we got a mixture of students, researchers, authorities, and industry members. And the idea in these workshops is we provided a basic technical understanding of the hydrogen energy technologies, and try and give an objective evaluation of the critical issues alongside the partners in the workshop, and listen to the doubts over costs, the worries over safety and the environmental concerns. Depending on where the workshops were held, we wanted to highlight the national strategies for those locations and any particular hydrogen technology projects that were in that region, providing a fact sheet. And then we worked together in a co-creation format in which the participants developed the ideas alongside the experts through brainstorming, hopes and concerns, brainstorming about what the future of hydrogen might look like, getting them to develop a newspaper article so you can see from that what type of issues are the key ones that rise to the top of mind and get most expressed. Our key insights from these co-creation workshops is there is definitely a broad support for hydrogen's role, for sure, in some areas. There is definitely a worry about costs and efficiency. The top concerns, as I said already, is around safety and storage and infrastructure readiness, especially. It's a big introducing hydrogen technology requires a lot of infrastructure readiness. Through the co-creation from before and after research, we see agreement that hydrogen is a safe energy source jumping. So it definitely had an impact on their concerns about safety from 51% to 68%. And the acceptance or the belief that it's a sustainable technology that can be used in certain situations to decarbonize rose up to 82%, which is fantastic. Some other key insights were the hands-on demonstrations and the community workshops were the most effective type of engagement. And what worked best in those situations is using plain language, not being too technical, trying to be as clear as possible, orienting the engagement activity to the local context, to what is happening in their area, and being very open to questions and answers and seeing what you can get. People want transparency. There's a lot of information out in the world and it's difficult sometimes to know what to trust. So it's really important to be clear and transparent on the green origin of hydrogen, where did the hydrogen is sourced from, what the life cycle is, what your water use is in the technology. These are concerns that people raise, and it's important that we communicate this in a clear way. So from this work, we've got guidelines for public engagement on hydrogen technologies implementation. So this synthesizes all the HYPOP evidence from all the partners and all the work we've done and the feedback from all the public engagement activities and creates a practical guide for turning HYPOP findings into action. And this is aimed at everyone broadly, for the other EU projects, for authorities, for communicators, for industry, and it includes analysis and planning tools, messaging and scheduling templates. The aim is to be as practical as possible. This is sort of meant to be useful stuff that can be used. Myth-busting prompts. So throughout this situation, the same sort of questions, the same concerns come up. So you have prepared, not prepared answers, but you're ready to address these concerns. Checklists and audience profiles and the like. So just to summarize at the end, finally, we have 8 guiding principles that come from this work. Firstly, and really very importantly, is be transparent and honest about benefits and limits. Be clear that hydrogen technology is a very useful option in certain situations. It may not be useful in other situations, but be clear about where hydrogen technology can be used and its benefits in that situation. When you're talking to an audience, tailor your message to them and their context, their locality, their socio-political situation. Be as inclusive as possible. Try and make sure that you're sensitive to get a balance in the gender engagement, because there can be an imbalance in that. Also, point 4, very important, is engaging early and keep engaging. It takes time to build public support and acceptance, so you need to start early and keep the process running so that you can build on work that's been done. Use evidence-based storytelling. So this comes back to practical projects, practical examples. You're telling the story of hydrogen, but you need to base it in reality. Do make it a two-way dialogue. People will want to be heard their opinions, and that is useful because that feeds into how you might take the next steps of your engagement. Safety, put safety first. It is always, as I've mentioned a couple of times, a major concern of the public. So you need to address it and address it early and keep addressing it throughout the public engagement. And finally, to monitor, evaluate and adapt. So afterwards, a public engagement, what do you get out of it? Adapt your public engagement strategies and redo. So it's a sort of an iterative process in that sense, where you're working to continuously improve your public engagement work. So these guidelines now are available on the HYPOP website. So please, all of you, please go and have a look. Please download them. Please use them. That would be great. And I just want to thank everyone on the project for the opportunity to speak and just to talk about this. And I will stop sharing my screen. If my mouse works, here it is. I hope that's, thank you very much.
Thank you, Oliver. Maybe now we can move on with the next slot. But if there are any questions for Oliver, you can use the chat. And we will also be able to answer later via email. Thank you so much. And for the next presentation, I would like to introduce Maria Jose from CNH2 that will talk to us about the licensing hydrogen projects in Europe, best practices on safety, permitting and certification approaches. Okay, please go ahead.
Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So good morning, everyone, and thank you, Valeria, to introduce me. Now we are going to talk about the three main guidelines of this project. The first one is the permitting guideline, then the safety guideline, and to finish, we will talk about the certification guidelines. So turning to our permitting guidelines, we can see an overview of the legislative framework in the countries analyzed. You can see in green the countries that has an hydrogen-specific legislation, but note that in the case of the mobility sector, the legislation, it could be, for example, adapted from other gas regulation. Then in blue, we have the procedure followed in hydrogen projects when there is no specific legislation. And in purple, we have there is the information in those countries that has not a specific legislation, but we didn't know the procedure they follow. Here we have an example of a frontrunner country that, as is in the case of Switzerland, the procedure they follow is first, the process begins with the building permit procedure, then it continues with the submission of a feasibility study. When obtaining the study's result, the relevant authority will examine the building request, and the resolution will then revise and published. If the response is affirmative, the permit will be granted, and it could be granted by different authorities depending on the location of the plant. And in case of affirmative, you can conclude the project with the implementation of it. Another example is about mobility. Here we have the German guidelines that start with the submission of a sample construction application. After that, an initial consultation where applicants present their predefined plan is carried out, and this requires specific documents. The permit could be granted by the building authority or trade inspectorate, or only the trade inspectorate, and this is depend on the type of the procedure. It could be a non-concentrate procedure or a concentrate procedure. So then the applicant forwards the required documents to the approved monitoring body, and is who provides approval and implementation of the hydrogen refueling stations. Having discussed that, it is important to note the common general requirements that were identified during the research, and are mainly the building, environmental, and land use laws. And you can see some requirements are, for example, a predefined plan or an environmental impact assessment, among others. Another, our HYPOP recommendations are the hydrogen production, are all about hydrogen production licenses, hydrogen distribution and storage licenses, and the administration. The suggestions are about that licenses should be required for entire commercial purposes, or there should be technical standards. What technical standards are needed for hydrogen transport, for example, or in the case of administration, an example is the determination of periods of time to provide a feedback to the applicant. As we transition to the technical workshop, those were carried out in Spain, Italy, Belgium, Poland, and Bulgaria. And the challenges identified during the workshop were in general the general lack of information or social awareness, a lack of a unique specific regulation, cost, use of the technology, or general aspect according to hydrogen properties. And based on that, the basic hydrogen HYPOP recommendations are the promotion of training for experts, because it's key, the designation of the competent authorities for every requirement, to establish procedures according to the scope, and to define the scopes required depending on the size of the plant. Then, about the safety guidelines, let's consider a total of 6 recommendations. The first one is the identification and understanding of the general safety approach, both at the national and local levels. We have the prescriptive approach that establishes fixed rules, and it is used when rules are clear, and the performance-based approach, which defines an acceptable risk level and leaves freedom in how to achieve it, and it is used when there are gaps or novel cases. The next is the introduction of project to public stakeholders, where we find the engagement with public authorities that is recommended from the earliest design phases, and potential technical criticalities and acceptance issues that should be addressed early. The mapping of the regulatory framework, because in most of European countries, there are significant gaps in the regulation, or hydrogen is not mentioned. Occasionally, documents exist and compile the relevant information, and the development of well-defined guidelines is encouraged because of that. The mapping is strengthens relations with public authorities, builds trust, and brings to light regulatory gaps. The number 4 is the techno-economic project design and the implementation of risk methodologies, where it is recommended to go for a proportional scale, because not all projects require the same type of risk assessment. So we have 3 groups. The most basic is the structure qualitative screening, a midterm that is semi-quantitative analysis, and the most complete that is full quantitative risk assessment. Then the preparation of a project presentation. When validating the first meeting between public authorities and designer, we can base on a minimum documentation set. That is, for example, documents as a text classifications or risk report. And this list, for example, it could be an ideal step to validate an emergency response plan. And the last one is the creation of a training and risk plan, where training both local authorities and operational workers is suggested, conducting period drills and testing procedures and system periodically are other two suggestions. With the evidence gathered by HYPOP that has been analyzed, the best practice and regulatory frameworks per country, and were done stakeholder workshops, we have concluded that there is a fragmented safety landscape because there are divergent interpretations, uneven familiarity, or oscillation between prescriptive and performance-based approaches. As a consequence, the permitting timelines are longer and less predictable. Europe has unequal and diversified safety requirements. Soft costs are increasing, and the public trust is weakened. So based on our current problem, our objective is to reduce uncertainty and permitting timelines and to increase knowledge and perception. So to conclude, we have the certification guidelines, as I said, because in the CE marking, all the products must be subject to a conformity assessment procedure. Here in this slide, we have the main certifications used to hydrogen technologies that you can see, for example, the machinery directive, the low voltage directive, or ATEX directives, among others, and a few descriptions about of these certifications. So the experience of manufacturers and certifying bodies with pre-existing directive and regulations is a strong reference base for the certification of hydrogen systems, and the collaboration between these technical committees and stakeholders is crucial for the expansion of hydrogen technologies in the sector. Both are significant steps that have been made to address the sector's specific needs. So this is all for my part, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Maria Jose. And as before, if you have any questions for her, you can write in the chat, and she can reply or reply by email, depending on the length of the question. Before the second session, I would like to share again the Slido, and in particular, we have a new question. Present. Okay, so this is a kind of an open-ended question, and we would like to know, in your experience and in your opinion, what are the next steps to overcome any difficulties encountered in your area of interest or position concerning the introduction of hydrogen technologies. Since this is a kind of a more complicated question to reply, I will just share with you again the code if you want to connect to Slido, and this is the number to put in the website. But we can move on to the second session, just to leave more space to our speakers that will share some of their experience on raising awareness on hydrogen. And this session will be moderated by Ilaria, the project coordinator who already introduced HYPOP before, and Mattia, which is part of Environment Park, together with Ilaria. So I leave you the word.
Thank you very much, Valeria. And indeed, we have collected here a panel representing projects and initiatives with whom we have interacted during the project to understand the best practices they had adopted, also perhaps to understand also where they had difficulties and how some guideline could support them. As Mirella said, of course, every project financed by the JU is interacting with the public, is communicating and raising awareness about their activities and hydrogen in general. And indeed, we actually collected some of the material produced to communicate these hydrogen projects on our website. So today we have with us the following people, and I invite them please to open up their camera and their microphone. So I'll just say all the names, and then we will give each of them the opportunity to present themselves, and we will ask them some questions. So we have Luigi Civalleri from Centro Scienza Torino. Hello, Luigi, if you can open your camera, and hopefully we can also.
Can you hear me?
Thank you very much. Yes, we can. Thank you very much. Great. Then we have Oliver Walter from ERM. Oliver, just checking.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Then Simon Habram from Cluster Tweed. Hello, Simon. Tatiana Block from New Energy Coalition. Hello, Tatiana. I hope. Hello. And then Sheila Brennan from Ulster University. Hello, Sheila. Nice to see you. Nice to see you all. So let's start with Luigi Civalleri from Centro Scienza Torino. Sorry. Luigi, please introduce yourself and your activity. And we know that you are very active in the field of science communication and awareness raising. So please tell us more about it.
Yes, thank you for the introduction and thank you for having me today. Good morning, everybody. I am a mathematician by training, and currently I am a member of the faculty of the postgraduate program in science communication at the International School of Advanced Studies in Trieste. But I am, first and foremost, I'm a member of Centro Scienza, which is a non-profit association based in Torino, in Italy. We were founded in 1996, so we're almost 40. No, sorry, we're almost 30. And we are a group of academic and science communication specialists. Our goal is to bridge the gap between the world of research, of advanced research, and the community and the people and the general public by promoting an array of very diverse activities in order to disseminate knowledge and awareness of science and technology in the general public. We are mostly known for our Science Thursdays, series of conference. As the name suggests, science conference open to the public every Thursday from November to March, approximately. We had reached at least 600,000 people in the past 30 years, so hugely successful. And we also work in contact with academia and local institutions in other dissemination projects. We work with schools. We organize what we call the Science Weeks, in which we bring the lab into the schools and the schools to the lab. And we have organized an exhibition, and we have organized other activities in various capacities, in various fields. And I repeat, our goal is to bridge the gap between the world of research and the general public. And we try to do it in different ways, in different environments. And that's what we do. We have been doing for the past 30 years in Torino and in Italy. And we also took part in European projects as well.
Thank you.
So that's what we do and what we what we bring to the table is our experience in disseminating and promoting awareness and knowledge of scientific and technology advancement to the general public.
Thank you very much, Luigi, and thank you for the work that you are doing. And of course, in your interaction with the public, I wonder whether I mean we found that there are often stereotypes or false myths about innovation and about innovative technology. So I was wondering, from your experience, what are the best approaches to overcome such ideas, such preconcepts about innovation?
Well, if we had the answer, a general recipe, I mean, we will be very rich and satisfied, but unfortunately we aren't. We deal with a rapidly changing environment, both in the public and the science. The science is changing also, not only the public, not only social media are affecting the interaction between the public and the research and technology environment. And we've had spectacular failures in the past. I mean, don't mention COVID, don't mention the vaccines. So we are we have to be very cautious and very humble about what we bring to the table. In the past, let's say 30, 40 years, we realized many things about the general response of the public. First and foremost, the so-called deficit model, which is prevailing nowadays. The deficit model means we know things you don't. We tell you things in an effective way. And I'm not saying we have to ditch this, because we've been doing it successfully for the past 40 years, but it's not enough. I mean, informing the public in the most effective way is good, but it's not enough. So in the past, we have put forward new models of science communication. One is called the PUS, terrible acronym, I know, but hey, Public Understanding of Science. And another successful model is the PEST, another terrible acronym, I know, Public Engagement in Science and Technology. And this works with the assumption that general public needs to be not only informed, but made aware of the way the science and technology work. So the fact that we don't have certainties, with that we always disagree with each other. Well, the theories are theories in a different sense, that with common knowledge, things about theories and so on. So the environment is more complicated than in the past. And of course, the elephant in the room is social medias and what we call social medias have given the general public what we call in the field of science communication the illusion of agency. Some say the delusion of agency, but I think it's too harsh. The illusion of agency, they think they can participate in the public debate. They think they are part of the public debate, which of course they aren't, because they are being used by the social media. They are used in the social media with very few exceptions. So in this rapidly changing environment, in this very challenging environment, what are the most successful, in our opinion, in our experience, activities that can bring down stereotypes, can change the opinion of the public? A couple. We have been very successful with site visits. Bring the public to the places where research is done, where technology is made, when things are done. Of course, there are safety concerns. We don't bring the public in biohazard environment or in restricted areas, but it can be done. Of course, you need to train the technician. You need to train the staff. We've had spectacular failures in the past. In a couple 5 years ago, in a very important facility here in Torino, and the technicians were actually describing in very technical terms what was going on. So terrible thing. But yes, we have been very successful in working with the city of Torino in waste management. I mean, people were very skeptic about some waste management treating facilities. And so we brought the public and let them see what actually goes on in these waste treatment facilities. Another thing that works is participated activities like Play Decide and the like. I mean, Play Decide, I think you're familiar with it. It's been around for 20 years. It's a sort of it's a gamification of the public debate, but it's fact-based, and it's moderated, and it's an example. There are other examples of participated activities, so involving the public, transforming the illusion of agency into some kind of agency. I mean, letting them know that their voices can matter. And one last word, be honest. The very first guideline principle in risk and safety communication is don't sweep things under the rug. Be honest. And it's not a recipe which is guaranteed for success, but it does work if combined with, of course, information and transparent, honest information. But my take-home message is information alone doesn't work often, and be transparent and be open, and try to let people see what's going on under closed doors, under secret doors, if it's possible. And that's my very brief take on the subject. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Luigi. Very interesting advice there, and also something that luckily aligns with what we've been working on and developing. So, Mattia.
Thank you, Ilaria, and for sure, thank you, Luigi, for sharing your experience. So, overcoming stereotypes and spreading and explaining technical knowledge to non-technical stakeholders can be challenging, but now we know that indeed there are some methods and approaches, and we know that showcasing in concrete terms new decarbonization solutions for emerging sectors like mobility is as well a powerful tool. So we have heard about site visits, which are encouraged to be carried out. So, and we think that showcasing can be a powerful tool to influence policymakers and operators, to empower local and national governments to regulate more and better the hydrogen-powered transport. And for the reason we invited and thank Oliver Water from ERM to bring the experience of HYPOP project. And so I really leave the floor to Oliver. So if you can please introduce yourself and spend few words about your awareness raising activities. Thank you, Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mattia. So nice to see everybody. My name is Oliver Walter. I am a consulting senior associate with ERM, so the world's largest pure play sustainability consultancy, and my team basically has been sort of the coordinator of the Jive and Jive 2 projects for almost 10 years now. They just concluded in June actually of 2025, so quite recently. And basically kind of the high level sort of goal of these projects was to deploy about 290 fuel cell buses across 15 European cities in 7 countries. So, you know, a big kind of demonstration project, as you said, Mattia, with sort of a few key goals. I think probably most namely to sort of validate the technology, you know, showcase, you know, its applications in public transit, as well as to kind of stimulate the market in general. So to sort of both show the technology works and in doing so, kind of lead to future uptake. So I think in that sense, you know, this is an interesting forum to kind of discuss and certainly to hear what everyone else has said already, and that this kind of demonstration project is in a way a communication project as well. So sort of aside from the, you know, deployment part necessarily, there was also a lot of work, particularly that ERM did on communication and dissemination. So one of them, and I know it's been mentioned, I think by Mirella earlier in this session, but was the roadshow initiative. So we basically ran 4 roadshows sort of over a number of years across sort of regions in Europe where fuel cell bus uptake has been rather limited, and kind of awareness of hydrogen in general, as we've heard, is not quite as high as it is in some other countries. So we did a roadshow in the Baltic region, a roadshow in Central Eastern Europe, a roadshow in Southern Europe, and then most recently a roadshow in the Nordic region, so in Sweden and Finland. And these roadshows are sort of comprised of a number of different kind of activities, but mostly sort of a national workshop, so bringing together people from the policy space, people deploying buses or sort of hydrogen infrastructure already, project developers. But as well, a really important part of these roadshows is actually driving the bus, literally like a roadshow from city to city. So sort of showing, again, that the technology works, that it's really applicable. And I think quite a critical part as well has been attaching it to sort of regionally specific and sort of very regionally relevant sort of things. So for example, in the Nordic Roadshow, we had close connections with another airport project. So a project sort of looking at utilizing hydrogen vehicles in the airport setting. So I think those kinds of things do really, really well to sort of meet people where they are, as it were, and sort of connect with where they are. But I'm sure we'll have some time to discuss those a bit more. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Oliver. And I forgot to mention that your project has been awarded by the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, indeed, as with the best outreach award in 2023. And I think that this is again a proof of the valuable work that you have carried out. You mentioned a really impressive number of showcasing around Europe and roadshow. And I would like, as you mentioned, the different type of stakeholders, from authorities to project developers and common people. I would like to understand if traveling around Europe with your roadshow and in different regions in Europe, if you notice some differences in the way that the audience react to the messages that you want to bring.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think it's certainly the case, that because the roadshows covered such a huge area, and particularly an area, as I mentioned, that, exposure to sort of hydrogen, certainly hydrogen buses, but even hydrogen technology in general, I think is a bit lower. I think kind of the key sort of differences, and I think kind of how the kind of response seemed to vary, I think was sort of due to a few things. I think first and foremost probably was sort of knowledge level, and I think kind of the presentations earlier from those involved in HYPOP really shows that, and that people who are aware of the technology are much more supportive of it. People that see it, are much more supportive of it. So I think that was really critical. I think there were some, for example, in the Southern Europe roadshow, so the third roadshow that was last summer in 2024, there was quite a lot of connections with universities, so particularly in Romania as well, a lot of connection with universities and sort of engineering schools, and that I think definitely noticeable difference in sort of the way that the conversation was, more about, how we can kind of get more buses and develop more projects, whereas then kind of in the Nordic region, there was much more focus on sort of policy making, and I think a reaction to the fact that policy has been a bit slower there. So I think that kind of conversation was more in line with sort of how to, pitch hydrogen buses, as it were, kind of in a policy sense. So I think that's one, is sort of knowledge level and sort of awareness. I think as well, having kind of a mix of stakeholders and including everybody who is involved in kind of making fuel cell buses work. So I think, part of it is obviously the, people operating it and the authorities and such, but, a lot of it as well as the public, general public who are riding on the buses and who, are seeing them driving around their neighborhoods. So involving them in the national workshops and these kind of demonstration trials. And I think as well, one that was particularly interesting was sort of the private sector. I think as there's more interest and certainly more awareness of hydrogen, I think the sort of private sector, has a very big role to play to, kind of then scale the technology. So involving all of these people, in these events, I think was really critical to sort of cross-pollinate, I think, and draw from each person's kind of strengths and what they are sort of most interested in. And I guess probably the third kind of leg of this, I think, is also just sort of regional readiness. And I think there's certainly some parts that we visited in the roadshows that, were more more prepared sort of to deploy buses. There's multiple cities that we did the roadshow through that are now deploying hydrogen buses in large part because of the roadshow initiative. So I think, you know, that kind of impact, you know, it can be quite tricky in the moment, but I think really following up and making sure that all of these other stakeholders and people are involved even after the roadshow is, you know, literally driven through is quite important, because it's, you know, not a turnkey thing. It can be quite complicated to deploy even a few buses. So kind of that longer term engagement, and I think through things like social media, you know, the Jive project itself has a lot of you know, really helpful, I think, reports and studies that we've done. So kind of ensuring the conversation can carry on is very important. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Oliver. And indeed, I really appreciate the messages that you shared. And yeah, for sure, private sector is usually the one more used to hear about not only hydrogen but other energy vectors. And yeah, but the different level of communications are needed according to the different types of stakeholders, and for sure we need to support more and more the regional framework to be ready to deploy these kind of solutions. Thank you very much, Oliver. Please,
Thank you.
Ilaria.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now it's time to introduce you Simon Habron from Cluster Tweet. Simon has been a valuable member of our team in HYPOP, but is also representing the project Green Sky, which is SKHY. So Simon, please introduce yourself and the project.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present this this project and a little bit the cluster. So I work for Cluster Tweet, and Cluster Tweet, we are located in Wallonia, and we gather all essentially SMEs, but also university, public entities around a common topic, which is renewable energy. And in fact, even also we have a cluster for water, but it's quite interesting to have water and energy for hydrogen. And so we dedicated specific ecosystem to hydrogen, and I'm the one responsible for this ecosystem. So if you want to make some collaboration with Wallonia, I can be the point of contact for you for the hydrogen topics. So yeah, the cluster tweet, I can just make this brief introduction. And for maybe another important thing, it's to have this more Belgium entity. We collaborate with the Flemish cluster, which is Waterstofnet, and so we have found the Belgium Hydrogen Council to have more Belgium institution on hydrogen. So for the Green Sky project, what is the Green Sky project? It's an Interreg Northwest Europe project. So we collaborate with France, Switzerland, Netherlands, Germany, and Luxembourg to work on skills and training. So what activities are in this project? So the first activities is to understand the skills that are needed for the company to carry out the new hydrogen activities. But also to understand what are the skills, but which are mandatory. So the certification, the skill certification that are needed for the worker to work on a hydrogen environment. And we can see that, of course, for this these specific topics is often related to safety. There is other activity to really see what already exists in terms of training, to make to see in Northwest Europe what are the training facilities that already exist, to make something in common, and to build also a hydrogen container, a training container that can move and have some little laboratories, and like that the students can really see some. And we can also share some this testing infrastructure. And there is other activities where we train the new people. So there is train the trainer, so to train the ones that will train the worker to work on these new hydrogen activities. There is also more academic training. So there is summer schools that are new courses to talk about hydrogen and really to have complementary courses for master students. And well, this is the general overview of Green Sky, and I will let the place for questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Simon. Very interesting. Of course, also the Interreg projects are financing often these projects on hydrogen and hydrogen policies and training. And with respect to the subject of safety and awareness raising that you touched upon, so which activities you find are working best in the project, and what are we expecting as deliverables from this project that we can perhaps share?
Something that you work well is, for example, we organize visits that are open for students and for someone that are interesting. So it's very open to everybody, and so there is quite some interest about this visit, and they can have a lot of quite nice publicity. So the LinkedIn website of Green Sky is very well documented thanks to this visit. So it's make a good promotion of these new activities, and to see that there is really something happening in hydrogen. It's just not words. It's really something new, and we can really see what are the different activities in this hydrogen and what are the new projects that are currently developed. The summer school, we see that it's worked very well, because when they organize the summer school, so there is summer schools in Luxembourg, Belgium, all the countries in the Northwest Europe, and they have to limit the registration because there is too much request to be on these courses. So we can see that it happened very well. And yes, we can see that there is some complementarity between this project, HYPOP and Green Sky, because, for example, when we survey the company to understand what are the skills that are important, we can see that safety is always it's always coming, and even if the employee or the worker don't work directly with hydrogen, they say that it's very important to have a general formation of safety, just to make these people more confident about the company, because they work with a company that are linking to hydrogen. So even if they are very far away from the hydrogen activities, to have a general knowledge about the safety of hydrogen is very interesting for all the people that work in this company. And for Green Sky, in fact, we have also some awareness activities. For example, there is some acculturation, so there is just not courses for specialists, but also for more general students, and university. Some professor of university give courses for secondary schools professors, like that. After that, they can teach hydrogen for secondary students. So yeah, this is.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So again, the message come quite strongly there, I believe, is about the fact that the public and also the people that need to deal with the technologies can actually see hands-on what this technology is about and familiarize themselves with it. So we will keep an eye on, of course, on the project and the outcomes of it. So back to Mattia then.
Yeah, thank you, Larry, and thank you, Simon. So yeah, indeed, hydrogen economy can be boosted, driven not only by awareness raising, but also providing the right skills to the technicians that are as well related to awareness raising, and the hydrogen economy, and in the end will be build up on different stakeholders that will need to be aware, that will need to be trained and confident, and because in the end they will form, the hydrogen valleys. So regional ecosystems that link hydrogen production, transportations, various end uses, such as mobility, but also industrial sectors. And so for this reason, when we put together all these elements in a hydrogen valley, things can become a little bit tricky. So that for this reason, we invited Tatiana Bloch from the New Hydrogen Coalition organization to bring their experiences, coordinators of a large-scale hydrogen valley, the Heaven Valley, and also as relevant partners in the Green Highland project, which is a small-scale hydrogen valley. So maybe I will leave again the floor to Tatiana to spend a few words on the organization, on the work that you do, and to maybe share in a few words the main activities behind these two hydrogen valleys, and especially the one that you coordinate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mattia. Good morning. Thanks for the invitation to the workshop. Yes, I am project manager for the New Energy Coalition. We are a non-profit organization based on the northern Netherlands, and our main goal is to drive the energy transition in the region that comprises 3 provinces, indeed in the north of the Netherlands. So I participate in several hydrogen projects, and hydrogen valleys is my specialty. I am a member of the coordination team for the Heaven project, and I'm also the representative of New Energy Coalition in Green Highland. I'm also involved in other projects, that Interreg project that is focusing on mobility, that is called Linking Hydrogen Potential. So yeah, indeed, the NEC, New Energy Coalition, is the coordinator of Heaven, and Heaven stands for Hydrogen Energy Applications in Valley Environments in the Northern Netherlands. And we are basically, since 2019, establishing the a new economy based on green hydrogen in the region. And it became as a need because the main economy of one of the main components in the economic sector in the north of the Netherlands is the energy. We have been well known as a region that has the one of the largest natural gas fields, and since say the end of the 2010s, we're talking about in the period of 2015, 2017, it was decided to close out the production of natural gas around 2023. So there was a regional need to minimize the impact of the reduction of the production of natural gas and having a new economy also to keep the region as an energy hub. And green hydrogen came up as a way to keep the energy economy alive in the region. So there was a local need to transform the economy, and that's how Heaven was born. And as I mentioned, the main objective is to decarbonize the local economy, of course, have a positive impact socially and environmentally speaking. And in that sense, also, we aim to create skills and capacity building, innovate in the energy systems, and create new jobs to help the economy and the population in the region. So it came up as a solution. The solution that we came up, is project that is very complex. We have 19, it's a program of projects actually. We have around 19 projects ongoing related to deployment of hydrogen value chain from production to end use and the infrastructure in between, to connect those sectors, as Mattia mentioned, and this multigrated approach also requires several actors to be involved. So businesses, knowledge institutions, and also local authorities. So that's what we call the public-private partnership model that is embedded in the structure of the consortium, and also how the project is funded. So there is private funding and also public funding, and of course the CHP has been contributed to 20 million to a total of 97 million euros that is invested in the project. And yeah, a little bit of history. We started back in 2019 when hydrogen economy and energy transition was just a new concept, relatively new concept, and we face many barriers to overcome during the project.
Tatiana, if I may, there are a couple of keywords that I really would like to outline of your introduction. Is you spoken about the needs of the local economy. So starting from those needs, you identified hydrogen as a potential alternatives decarbonization solution. And it's also interesting how you managed to, you achieved such good results through the involvement, direct involvement of public authorities in local public authorities in your program of projects. But needs brings to the research of solutions, technical solutions do exist. But sometimes, and we have seen in HYPOP project, but for sure in hydrogen valleys, you can experience some barriers, as you were mentioning, barriers that can touch different aspects and different types of stakeholders. So considering these really complex frameworks and actors that play a role, I would like to understand if you were aware of any major gaps that can go from knowledge, specific procedures, regulations. So specific gaps in relation with the authorization institutions, for sure, mainly for Heaven Project, because you're based in Netherlands, you're really close with your institutions, but I don't know also for maybe Green Highland, which is really different environment, let's say. So,
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, as I said, the project was designed into 2019. And in that moment, it was anticipated that the Netherlands, although we had a very strong and large ambition to develop the green hydrogen economy, it was already highlighted or foreseen that the regulatory and permitting framework was not fully ready for hydrogen. We have, of course, a strong framework in natural gas production and operations. However, what are we going to do with hydrogen was still a question mark. And I think having this public partnership model has been a key success factor in the to overcome those barriers that I'm going to give you a few examples and how we came across, how we work it out, especially during the deployment preparation phase, because in the project we do deployment of the hydrogen value chain, electrolyzers, pipelines, trucks, distributing hydrogen and different end users in mobility, in the industry, and the built environment. Mainly those are our main applications. We also have underground storage. So it's indeed a very technically complex project. And on top of that, we had all these factors, legal factors, regulatory factors, and social factors that we needed to incorporate in our deployment preparation. So what we did was to have in the beginning, for instance, one of the examples that I can give you is that we had issues with storing hydrogen for hydrogen refueling stations, and because it was like the first time that hydrogen storage was close to the community, in the middle of a city, in Groningen, for instance, or yeah, maybe in a highway, but still very close to a populated area. So we have to overcome the solution that we found at the beginning of the project was to overcome this barrier on connecting the businesses with the local authorities and working out things on a case-to-case basis. So it was maybe a slow process that it was required because both project developers and local authorities were confronted with a new situation and to work out. And then what they did was to work together and learn from those case-to-case bases until there was a workflow that could accelerate the procedures for permitting especially. And so that happened for HRS. It also happened for electrolyzers deployment, the water use, how are we going to manage the water? That was also new. Was the electrolyzer considered a chemical plant, or was it considered an energy system? So many questions to sort out. And I think not only locally, but also regional governments, but also national governments have been working out to this legislation. So now, after 5 years, there are simple procedures and shorter procedures based on this learning. Heaven also facilitated at the beginning of the project, say 2-3 years into the project, they facilitated a workshop for businesses organized by New Energy Coalition and the local authorities to share those learnings that we had collected in the moment. And that was also very helpful. And now things are running relatively better and faster. We still have a lot of work to do, and there's national legislation and European legislation that need to be adjusted, especially when it comes to transmission of hydrogen to transmission systems when we're talking about large scale transport of hydrogen through pipelines. That needs to be resolved, but I think the issues have been identified, and the solutions are, being developed.
Yeah.
And
Thank
in
you.
parallel, just to close out, also New Energy Coalition, not only through Heaven, but also to other projects like High Delta, is working together with the transmission system operator to work out solutions on safety and regulatory aspects for the what we call the hydrogen backbone. And also with HYPOP, there is a work package that is dedicated to harmonize the legislation for hydrogen mobility specifically. And we are studying 5 countries: Netherlands, Germany, Denmark, Belgium, and France. So that's how New Energy Coalition and Heaven have been.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tatiana, for your valuable insights. It's really nice to hear that because in HYPOP we identified the 3 frontrunner countries like our benchmark, and Netherlands is one of our frontrunner countries. But you know that front-runner countries now were not front-runner in the past, and you mentioned some difficulties that can go from the basically from the interaction between local, regional, national authorities, and how in the end you have come up with some let's say simplified procedures that now are normal procedures, and you did this for many sectors, and you mentioned some again safety issues, maybe for storage of hydrogen, especially close to populated area, and safety is again a key word of our journey. So, and I think that Ilaria maybe can introduce the next speakers on this.
Yes, indeed, safety. So we have the opportunity to speak, and let's speak Sheila Brennan from Ulster University, who was the coordinator of the project High Responder, a very important project because he worked with the first responders for hydrogen safety aspects, and they are also involved in the project High Academy. So Sheila, please, if you would like to introduce yourself and just introduce your projects.
Good morning, and thank you very much for the introduction. So yes, I'm Sheila Brennan from the Hydrogen Safety Engineering and Research Centre in Ulster University in Northern Ireland. And I work together with a team of partners to lead the High Responder project, which was about training trainers to implement training in hydrogen safety for first responders throughout Europe. And really through that project, which it concluded midway through 2023, but the interest in the activities and the materials developed from it are still very relevant. And we in turn are building on those through an additional project, which I'll come through shortly. So High Responder was about building on previous European investment where there had been a unique training facility developed for responders. In France, there had been training materials or teaching materials, and also some virtual reality activities. And we wanted to build on those, update those to reflect the state of the art, and try and roll out that training. And we very quickly realised that a one-size-fits-all approach throughout Europe wasn't appropriate. And instead, we worked with trainers from different regions. We identified leads in each country who had the awareness and the expertise and the knowledge of what the training looked like for firefighters in that particular country. And we worked with them we trained them, and then they in turn delivered local or regional training activities and looked at how that training could be embedded in their activities going forward. I suppose what I would like to do today is signpost resources and points of contact. So through High Responder, we developed a body of material. We have lecture notes, we have activities. They're available through the High Responder website, but we're also building on that within High Academy, of which Ulster are a partner. It's an ongoing project looking at education and training across Europe at a range of learning levels, from schools through to university level. Within that, we're developing a series of textbooks. Ulster are leading the textbook on hydrogen safety, which will build on the High Responder materials, but there will be textbooks available across all of the different subject areas. So again, a body of resources will be available that can then be taken and used to support education, training, and learning activities. So I suppose if I was to highlight one thing today, it's to try and signpost some activities that assist with education, training, and knowledge sharing. So that's, I think, just to summarize, I'm conscious I've probably run over the time.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Sheila. And indeed, you touched upon already about it, but maybe you can just deep dive a little bit about how did you manage these regional differences, because awareness is different, roles and responsibility maybe are also different in the different first responders that you trained during the High Responder project. So how did you deal with that?
Absolutely. And I think that was probably the biggest challenge within the project, and really caused a change in our mindset. At the project outset, we assumed we would develop, or our plan was develop, a training module that we would translate and that we would roll out across the countries represented in the project. And we very quickly realized that if we did that, whilst it might be successful within the project, it wouldn't have a longer term impact, and it wouldn't work with the local or regional needs. For example, in France, the majority of firefighters are volunteers. Looking at other countries, it's a very different situation with different training. So instead, what we did was identified training leads within each region, and we developed a body of resources and worked with those training leads to look at how those materials could be used to complement their existing training provision, and how training could be delivered using the high responder materials in each country or region in a way that was fit for purpose, that would fit around their existing training provision, and that could then be embedded in their training longer term beyond the project. And I think it's not quite the same, but within High Academy, we're taking a similar approach. So the rationale behind developing textbooks for universities, for example, is that so many courses exist. They're all very different. The needs are different. So if we can provide a textbook on a subject, then a lecturer can take the elements of that and shape them into a way that is fit for purpose for their particular needs.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you, every one of our panel of experts who intervened here. So we had many elements highlighted for interacting efficiently with both the public and the institutional stakeholders in terms of hydrogen. So many suggestions, many of them, luckily, we had also highlighted in our project. Unfortunately, Mirela from the Clean Hydrogen JU had to leave us, but I know, and as we heard from her, the work is still going on from the JU, and there are funds being directed towards activities of public awareness and communication and also training to ensure that the introduction of the hydrogen economy is actually supported by both the public and those institutional stakeholders who need to make the hydrogen installation happen. So maybe, Mattia, I don't know whether you want to say a few words before we leave it to Valeria to close the day.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Larry, and thank you to all the participants and speakers. And yeah, I want to just add that for sure, I think that the Clean Hydrogen Partnership from the workshop of today can bring at home really interesting results on what is the current awareness of common people towards hydrogen, and to maybe they from building on our results, HYPOP results, and all your activities of your projects, they for sure will implement the strategies to understand which are the next steps needed, and in turn, what will be the expectations from them to us. And yeah, but really valuable topics have been touched today, from new communication methods for sharing knowledge to citizens, the importance of showcasing and the capacity building and skills trainings and best practice from hydrogen valleys that manage to overcome regulatory barriers. So again, thank you everyone for your time availability and for bringing on the table your experience. So as Ilaria said, I will leave the floor for the final speakers. That will be Valeria from APRE. So please, Valeria, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And since we are running a bit late, I will just briefly make an introduction of the HYPOP toolkit. I hope you can see my screen. I mean, the toolkit was a collective effort and also a final effort of the project where we want to collect all of the information that can be readily available. So it is now published on our website, and here you can see where you are able to find it. So in the top bar, together with all of the other results and the project showcase. And inside the toolkit, there is this brief introduction about the aims of this page, the presentation that we want to give of all of our results and the research results of this years of implementation of HYPOP. Very briefly, the first section is dedicated to stakeholder engagement. So there is just a brief text with an overview of the stakeholder engagement that was carried out. And then below, there are some key insights that we have chosen as the most representatives. And then in the box below the insights, there is this resources section where the guidelines are going to be published. In particular, the ones from the stakeholder engagement will be published by the end of this month. Same goes for the public engagement. So we have a brief summary of all of the implementation activities, and then the insights with some key findings. And as Oliver said before, the guidelines on the good practices are already available, so you can download them here directly. And of course, they are already there for you to use. And the final section is on the visual materials, so the videos and the infographics that we developed. Here, just a couple that are the first one that pop up. So introductory, let's say, video on what is hydrogen, and another one on safety in hydrogen technologies. And below there is the infographics section with the infographics that we developed on production and mobility application, role of hydrogen in the energy transition, and then many more. We have a couple of more to share. And through the download button, you will be able to directly open a PDF and download and use these materials. This is one example of the infographics that were developed. And that's it from the toolkit. So I put here again the QR code that leads to the to the website, but you can find us easily, and all materials are there. I also invite you to check out the project showcase, where we selected a few projects that are representative and that offer interesting materials for the sector. And our resources results page that has all of the open access deliverables and in general materials that we have developed. So once again, thank you all for participating. Really, it was really nice hearing from these different experiences, and thank you to the coordinators and the partners who gave us our time and their time and helped us carry out this workshop. As I said before, the Slido is still open if you want to add a few more details to the question, to the open-ended question, and it will be until tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.